Hello, homies. Tryndamere jungle. Inspired picked it. He locked it in. What do I think about it? I honestly think it's kind of shit. People might not like that for me saying it, but let me elaborate. Jungle as a role, first and foremost, you don't generate as much gold as an ADC, as a mid laner, as a top laner. You just don't. Even if you clear all your camps, if you want to get ahead of the curve as a jungler, you need to be invading, you need to be pressuring enemy camps, you need to secure all crabs, you need to secure objectives too. This is how you get ahead of the curve as a jungler. When you're playing a jungler that scales, you're not going to be able to invade as a show of strength. You're only going to be able to invade as a response. In order to create that response that is valid, it means that you give the initiative to the enemy always first, that they can always secure the first play. And then if they play around vision properly, you're going to have to react later. But if you, of course, your teammates are giving you prio, getting you full information, then maybe you get some opportunities to steal camp, maybe steal an objective, and then maybe you can scale. When you lock in a champion like Tryndamere, similar to Kha'Zix, Shyvana, these type of champions that want to just farm to level 11, secure objectives, and get to a point where they become very strong in team fights, you're giving up a lot. You force your teammates to play 2v3s in a lot of cases, 3v4 in some cases, and maybe you can get away with that, and then maybe your greed can pay off. But the thing is, with the role of jungle in the current meta game, in most cases, the opportunities that you get in order to pressure and to gank, they are very limited. What we see in the jungle game is basically level 3. Basically, how you break it down is how big of the window is it in the context of a certain kind of level spike. So, when you get 12 CS in jungle, with most camp combinations, you get level 3. The window until you get level 4, that's a pretty big one, so a lot of junglers invade in that window, because even if the enemy takes 16 CS, maybe 4 camps, you're still going to be level 3 against 3, and they get no additional power from taking an additional camp. And it's the same thing applies then after level 4. Everyone's going to clear 3 more camps in the respawn, which makes them level 5. Which, of course, in most cases, if you get a crab, means that you've taken 10 camps on 40 CS. That's another big spike. That's when people do dragon. That's when people secure second crab, which is, of course, a very big one in terms of XP. And then after that, if you don't do anything busy in that window, you're going to then have to rush to level 6 to then, of course, be ready on grubs with your ultimate. And then these beats that you need to hit, you hit Drake beat, Grub beat, and then Drake number 2, and then Rifter as a beat. And in the in-between, be very selective with your moments of finding ganks and of course securing lanes, makes it so the opportunities to steal away camps just because the enemy is doing a gank on bot and you stealing chickens is going to be quite rare. You know, most junglers keep their camps very cleared. And in the context of Tryndamere, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you fight against the Leona and the Skarner and the Corki, for example, on the 3v3 on bot side, because they are simply stronger than you. So what happens? Tryndamere wants to farm, and he's hoping that his wave states and lane states are going to be good enough, either in his favor or at least balanced. And that, of course, is not something that you can always guarantee in your matchups. Sure, in this particular game, you have Sion versus Gnar, that's pretty stable. Syndra against Hui, very stable. Corki versus Leona, you can hard force trades in this matchup, which can make it dangerous, and it might be hard for YamatoCannon to get clean bases in always, especially in unison when you want to create a swap for the Sion timer at minute 4 with the coming cannon waves that is at 4:30. The minute 4 wave is super important, so if Skarner is there ready to contest on that wave, you can of course break the pattern of play for the YamatoCannon. And then what do you do with Tryndamere in that moment? You can't do super much. With a champion like, for example, Wukong that needs to farm early, Wukong needs to farm, or Vi that needs to farm early in order to reach 6, there's still some reprieve at that moment in time when they reach level 6 and they can fight very early. But then there's these class of junglers like Tryndamere, Shyvana, and these other champions that I mentioned, they need to get to level 11. So you're, of course, giving up so much in the game. And there's going to be moments where giving up that much in the game can be okay, and then maybe your scaling jungler can be amazing. But even then, if you're giving up, let's say, Drakes, and you're giving up Grubs, and you're giving up objectives because the enemy team is playing correctly around it, I do think that running junglers like this can be very risky. Sure, if you have lanes that are winning across the board and you want full-on scaling from your jungle position because you know all your lanes are winning, that can be fine. But even in those spots, in a lot of cases, teams would rather just have a jungler that is ready to be active for the dives and the pressure dives and ready to just slam the win in. And sure, maybe in some cases, Tryndamere with his ultimate can supply that, which can be neat. I do think that in most games, running a Tryndamere will add a lot of additional risk to the game. And I think this particular game, FlyQuest is winning because they are just way better as a team. Is there room for Tryndamere to be played? I personally don't think so. I would be surprised if Inspired picks it again. Sure, here he had a pop-off game that we're going to break down. I just wanted to give you my thoughts and why I think running junglers like this can be risky. I'm going to compare it to something like Ivan. Like Ivan as a champion has a lot of activity in the early game. He has opportunities to do things early game. He clears super fast. And at the same time, his items are dirt cheap. So him being behind the curve and maybe giving something up for the sake of his scaling still makes him insanely powerful. Tryndamere as a champion needs gold. He really needs gold. He cannot give up his tempo in clearing to safeguard anyone. So for those who want to play Tryndamere, you can look to Inspired's runes. He's basically just getting the boots and Cosmic Insight. Some people like to play Approach Velocity here because you just slow people down with your W and the move speed is nice. Little tempo is the go-to for everybody. He starts his red buff in this particular game. He does these short E's to make sure the animation is as short as possible. And then you just keep bonking. Never use his Q for the healing because being lower HP gives you, of course, more AD, which is super nice. You don't want to be in a position where you use that for healing. You just want to make sure that you always stay as unhealthy as possible. Your rage increases your crit chance, which means that, you also don't want to use Q for healing for that reason. Staying in combat is very easy. It's 8 seconds before the rage runs out. You see that he started red because he doesn't want to do the chicken start, because then maybe Skarner and Leona could look to invade him on the chicken respawn. Like this, his chicken respawns much later, which makes the Skarner window to punish and not there. He looks for the bot line gank, and you can see here FlyQuest, they tried to push in the 4-minute wave, and Shopify Rebellions got the punish in, which means that FlyQuest can't easily base on Sion's swap timer. Because usually here Whipple would base and these guys would base too, and they would just swap and Whipple would base and TP bot. But for some reason they choose not to, which was very surprising to me. Here Sion could choose to TP bot without pushing this wave, and YamatoCannon could just open bot, but choices. Here, of course, Tryndamere is just going to keep clearing. Here he tries to step into the river first with Syndra, and they can't secure the crab. Skarner is then going to reach level 6 first here on bottom side, which is a really big deal. Remember the beats that I mentioned before. Going to get 6, and then Tryndamere is going to start hitting his red. They're doing this blind with no information. They burnt Summoners of Muscle before, so just look for the dive. Even if Tryndamere was here, I think that they could have spotted him with Skarner E, and they could have made a decision off of that, because they don't need to dive right away, right? They can just look and see, and if Mouse is going off the turret, they can send spells and just one-shot him, and then Tryndamere, defending Masu here wouldn't matter, so they're just playing off of information, doing it very well to punish Masu. Inspired knows he can't help, he just does golems in front of them. In a different world, this can be game-breaking. Situations like this can be, of course, game-breaking, and these are, two sequences that are very standard from contracts. You got, of course, the crab spawn on bottom side, he secured it, and then they found, of course, the play. Rakan TP'd in the bottom side to catch additional XP to get 6, and Inspired just keeps clearing. We fast forward, something that FlyQuest do super well is that in terms of how they utilize Sion to secure the objective, Busio on the roam and the prior, making sure Master doesn't get dove, and also hovering into top side. The system securing the grubs in a game like this is, of course, super nice. Here, Sion also pushed one more wave, bases, and goes bot, matched with Xayah, which is super nice, which means that they both get to catch one wave at the same time, and also they force the enemy to, of course, swap into them, which means Xayah can hard push this wave. She can ignore the status quo here, laning against a strong Corki, and then Sion gets one, of course, plating here. Corki shows on top, which means that Tryndamere can just easily E over the wall together with Whipple. Swapping their strong Sion into the side where the objective is very clever, because Shopify Rebellion is like, yo, we want to match them, we want to fuck them in lane. But them swapping like this and having the tempo of YamatoCannon allows them to hard shove one wave and then collect the objective, because Sion is so strong on the side that he's on, which is super neat. Here is a big mistake from Shopify Rebellions where they engage into this fight. Kraken Slayer finish on Tryndamere. He steps into this area, and for some reason Palafox doesn't use spells on, of course, Quad. Here, Quad gets ulted by Skarner, and they're going to miss the damage of E. You're still going to get the passive damage because of the WQ and the Impale. 3 spells from Skarner, but here Palafox refuses to use spell on Quad. Maybe they couldn't kill him either way because there's a heal on Busio, and at the same time he has Merc, so I think the play is just shit across the board. Tryndamere getting 2 kills, accelerating him is really bad for, of course, Shopify Rebellion. He gets to, of course, invade here with a red buff as well. This is a massive win for Inspired, and he takes it all the way to the bank. Xayah gets to take a plating on top and push out because Corki looks to defend mid, which is a massive gold swing for, of course, FlyQuest. Here at this moment, we're going to see a mistake from Shopify Rebellions where they are spotted on this ward that Busio placed before. Busio is doing the job of jungle here, where he's marking for Quad, making sure they can take neutral waves. All the neutral waves that Quad can push means that Tryndamere has more free time. If the enemy manages to take control of a river and sweep the vision, and they can put pressure on Quad, then it becomes a lot awkward for him to be on the neutral waves, and they can, of course, contest it to this space. And then it's just a question of Fudge making sure that he is secured against the Tryndamere counterplay, because currently on top side, Shopify Rebellion should be stronger. Here in this moment, Leona and Scan are showing on the wave. I think Quad should instantly rush to the top wave in this spot to push it. He doesn't do so. He walks away and he hovers for his support. Here, Tryndamere ease over the wall to dodge the vision of Fudge, and I can just look at what Fudge does. Fudge right now, just look at it from his position, his vision. Here, Tryndamere ease over the wall and pay attention to when Inspire gets spotted. So he gets spotted. So there's a trade from Fudge. He's fighting back against Bwipo. He's dodging the Q damage. Here, Tryndamere gets spotted. And look at how Fudge plays. He is unenthused, brother. He is unenthused. He doesn't notice. He doesn't notice. So Inspired steps from river. He flashes. And then he doesn't even get the ult on the Sounders charging the Q. So he doesn't get the cancel. He gets CC chained. Inspired kills him. And that, of course, is really, really sad. And in the end here, Shopify Rebellion should make sure that there's no re-entry of Quad into this side. But the main problem here for them is the fact that, they allow the re-entry of Syndra into this when she has no flash. She's walking to catch one wave, and they feel very comfortable, just walking with Quad on this lane. In other scenarios, maybe Shopify Rebellions are not leashing this Herald, and then on that wave crash, Leona ult the Quad and look to kill him and look to gank him, but they don't go for it. I think Rakan also having Mikos maybe sways them. The Mercs also sways them. Moments like these, for people that complain about items like Rod of Ages or Mages and so forth, I know damage-wise might be terrible, but a defensive item like Mercs, things like this of nature, if they can make you strong enough for the enemy not to dive you in these spots, and you can steal these waves in terms of income and counterplay that the enemy gets when you play on the other side of the map, it becomes so damn limited, so it can be very powerful. If you guys remember Faker back in 2023, he was building perma tank Orianna, and this was a big part of it because he was always playing in isolation away from his jungle because the owner was power farming. Here they use some tempo to get the Drake and Shopify Rebellions. The Palafox still on the map, didn't base together with his teammates, and this is a big mistake because he's still on the map, didn't recall, maybe doesn't want to base, doesn't want to just stay on the map, which is fine. Maybe you don't have anything to buy, which is okay. But look, pay attention to what Quad does. He just opens on top because he knows that Palafox and, of course, the enemy team is full on bottom side. Palafox TPs. They don't push the bot wave. Sion uses tempo to push us out and force the recall. And Shopify Rebellion is using the tempo advantage to chase out Inspired. Inspired doesn't die. Busio also doesn't die. He uses barrier and Mikhails on himself and survives somehow. And this, of course, is a travesty. Shopify Rebellion is losing the top wave, the bot wave, and Quad's going to take a full tower here. And Sion is already ready to catch because he TP'd, and YamatoCannon are going to recall. So FlyQuest is completely out-macroing them. Pay attention to this moment too here. Scanner is going to get spotted by Inspired. If you have nothing to do, nothing to clear, just step into the river and spot people. Inspired spots Scanner here, which means that Busio can freely enter into bottom side because he knows that Scanner and Leona are not here, clearing vision or ready to trap him. So Busio enters here, puts deep vision of that information on Scanner because Inspired keeps busy, and then he puts deep vision, and this deep vision is going to give them super much. Black is not looking to fight, they're just looking to, of course, poke and prod and see what the enemy decision is. Here they see everybody on of course, mid-wave. Tryndamere is just clearing, and as you can see, the moment the Scan and Leona step into here, you can see that Inspired says, rock and roll. I'm going to steal the enemy Gromp, steal the enemy Wolves, which is something that comes out of the fact that Inspired got vision, which meant that Busio can get vision. And then Inspired gets Giga fed. But of course, here Shopify Rebellions from their side, what the hell are they doing? They're stepping into top side, they're playing on Bwipo's side, and they are like looking to pressure out the Khan for some reason. I don't know what's happening. But as you can see here, Bwipo is piss chilly. He knows the enemy's not hitting out the Khan, he's getting vision, he's pushing forward, he's not giving up everything for free. They see Corki here, he knows they didn't leash it yet, and now they're looking for the dive. They know Atakan is not taken yet, which means that Tryndamere is just piss chilling. He did golems, and now they know the enemy didn't start it yet. They're chilling, they're taking the mid wave, they're taking the mid turret. Here comes Hui TP, but it's far too late, and the enemy didn't start Herald yet. I love the fact that they are not like too afraid and they understand that the enemy can't one-shot the Atakan like that and it's dangerous, they are completely chilling and making sure that the enemy doesn't get fake pressure from being around Atakan. Now, the moment of truth, FlyQuest are going to set up, the situation where Whip was on bot with his TP, and the enemy team is going to look for this play on Quad. Quad felt safe because he saw Leona here on this ward earlier, and they're looking for the play. Quad is keeping Flash and prodding back and forth. Palafox is keeping the wrong distance. I think he could have tethered to Quad better, because Quad was moving back and forth, so Palafox can be in range to actually use the route. So Quad would have to flash earlier. Contracts doesn't have, of course, ult, which is bad. Which is just unlucky timing. Here, Busio does a great job of CCing these guys so Quad can create more distance with his flash, which is beautiful. And then the stun comes out, and pay attention here to the amount of healing that Busio does. The charm onto Skarner, and then he's going to heal him, Mikhails him, and then the Q heal as well. This is basically a holy paladin, just dropping, all of the fat healing, the crit, and all that jazz onto his homie to make Quad survive. And this is, of course, the highlight that everybody knows about. The first competitive pentakill of all time. The first major region Tryndamere jungle game of all time. And in this moment, you can see how sticky Tryndamere can be with his items. And I repeat, I said that I don't like Tryndamere, but if Tryndamere can get these items somehow in this game and it can be guaranteed, God bless you. But I think Tryndamere as a champion, something that requires a lot of gold, just belongs a lot more so in the top lane position if he's in a good matchup, and then he can play that isolated game a lot easier, which I think is super important, because I think the game setup is quite difficult that they are playing through, and I doubt this is a champion going to see that often or even ever again. In terms of how you team fight with Tryndamere, for those who want to know, never find yourself in these weird front-to-back situations. Another reason why Tryndamere top makes a lot of sense is because you get to push in the sides all the way, the enemy catches, and then you undermine the enemy, isolating the enemy top laner, fighting him if he tries to cross you, or then just flanking the enemy, right? In this type of a spot, Inspired just giving Nash a little love tap. His teammates are putting him in an awkward fight spot because Shopify Rebellion is all kind of keeping a line here. Quad just pushed out top, and for some reason FlyQuest are fighting. I honestly think they're just straight up trolling. Inspire tried to isolate the Gnar, but it doesn't really work, and these type of fights are ugly for him. Inspire's going to E in here, he's going to look for a fight because his bro did so, but as you can see, any chip damage forces Inspire's ult, and he's forced to retreat. If he doesn't get the hit, then he has to, of course, walk away. And that previous fight when he got the Penta was because they used every single CC spell in the world on, of course, Inspired. So, of course, Inspired has a lot of frontline damage, he can kill people very easily. But if he's going to take a lot of chip damage and if he can kite in one direction, it becomes very awkward. And here Shopify Rebellion, of course, they get the Nasher. This is a better example of a fight that you want to look for. Shopify Rebellions take the wrong entry into Drake, which is a big mistake from their side, because they need to use the space here where Nara is a little bit more. Inspired hits the blue buff, and his team is just poking away. And then Inspired finally is going to secure the blue, and he's going to just punch away at Fudge, isolating him. This is a better spot for him, and FlyQuest, of course, win the game. I think this game for me, Quad is the MVP. Busio, Quad, they played out of their mind. I think Whip also played insanely well in order to set up the Tryndamere for success. But I think in games like these, you can play almost most AD junglers and still have a very successful game, because it goes both ways too. Like if you're there ready to fight earlier, you're going to be able to win early game a lot harder and then snowball. I think this is working simply because FlyQuest are way better individually, way better macro, and that's why I'm less excited about, of course, the Tryndamere pick. I repeat, he got accelerated here with the double kills and him getting the objective secured because Shopify Rebellions didn't leverage their strength to secure the objectives and got pulled into, of course, the swapping game a little bit too heavily because they wanted to, of course, create a circumstance where they match lanes, but I think that they were too heavily focused on it. Because I think there is a world where if Tryndamere needs to be there on crashing waves together with Zara Khan to dive the Tryndamere, and Leona has an option to, of course, open on that side and you secure an objective with Skarner during that time, I think that's okay. Because I think you can easily create a circumstance where you're leading the game into Drake number 3 and Tryndamere doesn't have Navori yet. And in that moment, you'll feel really bad about playing Tryndamere if the enemy can get soul point just because of how much weaker you've been in the game. If your comp is that much stronger early and you can secure advantages for Tryndamere, fine, go ahead. But at that point, most junglers in the game can work. Tryndamere as a champion, there is room to explore. I think Tryndamere mid, Tryndamere top, room to explore as a champion, as a concept. I think these champions can work against like the likes of Hui, the likes of Nar. I think these champions aren't super strong against Tryndamere specifically. I just don't like it super much in the jungle position. That is my main gripe with it. And I think Inspired can get away with a lot because of how damn good he is. So I don't expect this champion to be played a lot, much more. Do you guys disagree? Do you agree? Let me know what you guys think. Cool that they busted out a new champion. I don't think that people should or teams should really care about this Tryndamere coming out. I doubt Inspired is going to want to play it super much, in my opinion. I think it's yeah. It's like I think there's many junglers that are far more useful. I'm not a fan of junglers that need to scale to 2 items to want to be in a fight. I'm not a fan of those junglers at all. But yeah, there it is. Bless you and bless your face.